Well, hello there, Dance Fam, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Dance Studio Scale podcast. Now, if you've been listening over the last couple of weeks, I've been talking a fair bit about different seasons of business that we go through, and all of us go through it at different times and in different ways. And this episode is loosely based off that a little bit too. And it's from conversations I've been having with studio owners. It's something that I experienced myself many times over my 30 years of owning my studios. And even now with where I'm sitting, like I said, if you've listened to those podcasts over the last couple of weeks, you would have heard my story. But I just want to ask you, have you ever just woken up one morning and thought, I really just don't want to go to work today, or I really don't want to answer that email, or I don't want to put on my active wear, I don't want to have to put on that smile and have a conversation with the parents. And it's not because you don't love them, it's not because you don't care, it's just simply because maybe you're tired, or maybe you just can't be effed, I don't know. But if you've ever thought that, I just want you to know that you are not alone. And more importantly, it doesn't mean you're in the wrong business. Today, I want to share something that I think every studio owner needs to hear. And that is that two things can be true at once. You can absolutely love your studio and not feel like walking through the doors. You can be incredibly grateful for the business that you've built and still feel exhausted by the responsibility of running it. You can adore your students and quietly wish that everyone would just stop asking you questions for just one afternoon. You can feel incredibly proud of what you've created and still wonder whether you've got the energy for everything that's coming over the next few months. One doesn't cancel out the other. In fact, I think acknowledging both is one of the healthiest things that we can do as business owners. And I think this conversation is particularly important now because we are about to head into one of the busier periods of the year. We've got August rolling around very soon, and suddenly things start gathering momentum. Things start moving faster, and before you know it, we're in December. You'll be thinking, hopefully, you'll start thinking about next year's timetable. We've got the concerts and performances ramping up. You might be in the midst or about to start costumes and measuring and all that whole process. We then want to move into re-enrollments and teacher conversations. Plus then you've got the business side of things, your budgets, your marketing, the planning. Your calendar is filling up. The emails just seem to multiply overnight. The decisions that you are having to make feel like they're becoming more frequent, and that pressure can quietly build. And if you're anything like I used to be, I'd start telling myself, I just need to push through until the end of the year. Maybe you've said that before, if I can just get through this concert season, if I can just get through re-enrollments, if I can just get to Christmas. But here's what I've learned after all these years. The busiest season isn't actually what burns us out, it's how we enter it. So if we're entering it already exhausted, we're already carrying months of unresolved decisions, already saying yes to everything, already feeling guilty for needing rest, then the next few months are going to feel incredibly hard. But if we enter this season intentionally, that is with clear priorities, with healthy boundaries, with realistic expectations, and permission just to simply be human, the exact same workload can feel completely different. And that's why I want to remind you today that these two things can be true at once. You can be ambitious and protect your peace. You can want to grow and decide not to add anything new right now. You can care deeply about every family, but still have those boundaries. You can be an incredible leader and admit that you're tired. You can love your business but desperately want a break. One doesn't make the other less true. And I think somewhere along the way, we've convinced ourselves that successful business owners shouldn't feel this way, that if we're passionate enough, we'll never question it, we'll never get exhausted, we'll never wake up not wanting to go to work. We won't actually even see it as work, right? That's what they are saying online. But that's just not the reality. Passion doesn't make you immune to feeling fatigue. And purpose doesn't mean that you'll never need rest. Gratitude doesn't cancel out exhaustion. Just let those things coexist together. Now, I remember so many years where I would reach this point and think, if I can just survive the next few months. But then it all happens again, and it is cyclical, right? It's the same thing each season, but the noise around us, I think, is just getting so much more overwhelming. There's more involved in our lives. There's more busyness. There's more things consuming us, and our capacity is filling faster. And eventually I just realized that the business wasn't magically going to become less demanding. I had to just become better at managing my energy within it. And that's when it changed. Because I just stopped waiting for things to slow down and started becoming more intentional about how I showed up during those busy seasons. So before August really takes hold, I want to encourage you to ask yourself some questions. What am I carrying that I don't need to carry anymore? Now, maybe it's a decision that you've been avoiding. Maybe it's jobs that someone else could do. Maybe it's expectations that you've placed on yourself. Maybe it's trying to be everything to everyone. Second question is, what actually matters over the next 3 to 5 months? Not 20 priorities, not every exciting idea that you've ever had, the handful of things that will genuinely move your studio forward, because everything else can wait. And finally, and probably I think the most important question to ask yourself is, what do I need to protect? Is it your energy? Is it your weekends? Is it time with your family or friends? Is it your health? Is it even your creativity? Because when life gets busy, we're very good at protecting our calendar. But we're not always very good at protecting ourselves, and they're just not the same thing. As studio owners, we are incredibly good at making sure everybody else is okay. So our students are okay, our teachers, the parents, our families. But somewhere along the line, we quietly move ourselves to the bottom of that list. Then we wonder why we reach October, November feeling completely depleted. And I don't want that for you this year. I want you to enjoy the next few months. Yes, they are going to be busy. Yes, there are going to be long days. There are going to be moments where you'll question why you chose this career. But there'll also be beautiful moments. Watching a student achieve something that they've worked hard for. Seeing a teacher grow in their confidence. Receiving a message from a parent thanking you for changing their child's life. Even simply watching your community come together. Or standing backstage at the concert and remembering exactly why you started. Those moments are still there, even on the hard days. So, as we head into what is traditionally one of our busiest seasons of the year, don't wait until you're completely overwhelmed before you start looking after yourself. Don't convince yourself that the rest is something that you'll earn in December. Don't believe that because you're tired, you are no longer passionate, because those two things can exist together too. And perhaps the most important thing I want you to remember today is that you don't have to choose between being a successful studio owner and being a healthy, happy human being. So if you wake up one morning over the next few weeks and think, I really don't want to go to work today, don't panic. Don't immediately assume that you've fallen out of love with your business. Maybe you are just simply tired. Maybe you have creative exhaustion. Maybe you just need to take a breath. Maybe you need to let go of something, have a day off, which I realize is not always as simple as just taking a day off. Maybe you need to remember that this season won't last forever. And maybe you just simply need someone to remind you that you're human. So thank you so much for spending this part of your day with me. I hope this episode has resonated with you. And if you think there is someone else within our industry who needs to hear this, please share. As we head into this second half of the year, I want you to be kind to yourself. I want you to protect your energy. I want you to lead with intention. And remember that you can love your studio and not want to go to work, because these two things can be true at once. Okay, team, I hope you have an incredible rest of your week, and I will catch you soon.